What if I told you that one of history's most feared monsters was once a victim? That the mere sight of her could turn men to stone, yet behind those cursed eyes lay a soul betrayed by the very gods she once worshipped. This is the tragic tale of Medusa, a woman whose beauty was both her blessing and her doom. Welcome to Legends Reimagined, where we revive the greatest stories from history, mythology, and literature with the power of AI. Today, we uncover the sorrowful fate of Medusa, the cursed beauty whose name became synonymous with terror. Long before she became a symbol of fear, Medusa was known for something else, her breathtaking beauty. She was the most radiant of the three Gorgon sisters, the only one born mortal. Unlike her monstrous siblings, Stheno and Euryale, Medusa was human, her golden hair and captivating eyes drawing admiration from gods and mortals alike. She was a devoted priestess of Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, serving within the sacred halls of the Parthenon. Sworn to a life of chastity, she lived in unwavering devotion, believing herself protected under Athena's divine grace. But beauty, as often seen in myth and history, can be a dangerous gift. One fateful night, the walls of Athena's temple bore witness to a crime that would forever alter Medusa's destiny. Poseidon, the mighty god of the sea, took notice of her unparalleled beauty. Consumed by desire, he pursued her relentlessly. And in a moment of cruel fate, Medusa, the devoted priestess, was violated within the sacred temple itself. She cried out for Athena's aid, expecting protection from the goddess she had served with such loyalty. But divine justice in Olympus was not given to mortals. Instead of punishing Poseidon, Athena turned her wrath upon Medusa. The temple had been defiled, and the goddess chose to lay the blame upon the one who had once been its pride. In what should have been her moment of salvation, Medusa was instead cursed. Athena, in a fit of divine rage, transformed her golden locks into writhing serpents. Her enchanting gaze became a weapon of horror, one that turned any living creature that met her eyes into cold, lifeless stone. From that moment forward, Medusa was no longer a priestess of the gods. She was a monster. Banished to the farthest reaches of the earth, Medusa sought refuge in isolation. She roamed the desolate land of Hyperborea, where her only companions were the whispers of the wind and the rustling of her cursed serpentine hair. She did not seek vengeance. She sought solitude, but mortals, in their hunger for glory, would not let her be. Warriors and kings, lured by the promise of slaying a beast, came to claim her head, only to become yet another frozen statue in her growing graveyard. She never wished to be a killer, but with every passing year, her legend grew darker, until the girl who had once been loved became the creature all men feared. Then came Perseus, the son of Zeus, armed with the favor of the gods. Sent on a near-impossible quest by the scheming king Polydectes, Perseus was tasked with bringing back the head of Medusa. Unlike those before him, he did not come blind. He came prepared. Guided by Athena herself, Perseus wielded a polished shield, a gift from the goddess, one that would allow him to see Medusa without looking directly into her deadly eyes. He carried a sword of divine sharpness and winged sandals gifted by Hermes, giving him speed beyond mortal reach. On a moonlit night, as Medusa lay asleep in her cave, Perseus struck. Using the shield's reflection to guide his blade, he severed her head in a single, swift motion. From her lifeless body, two legendary beings were born: Chrysaor, the golden warrior, and Pegasus, the winged horse, both children of Poseidon, hidden within Medusa's cursed womb. Perseus carried her severed head back to his kingdom, where it would be used as a weapon, even in death. Medusa, whose only crime had been to exist in beauty, had finally been silenced. Was Medusa truly a monster, or was she the victim of a world where gods played with mortal lives, where justice was cruel and power was absolute? Her tale is one of injustice, of punishment undeserved, and of the way history can twist a victim into a villain. Yet, over the centuries, Medusa's story has been reclaimed, not as a horror, but as a symbol of resilience, of defiance, of a woman whose suffering was transformed into power. Even today, Medusa's gaze remains unbroken. Her image is worn as a sign of strength, her story retold as a warning of the cruelty of unchecked power. So tell me, was Medusa a monster, or was she simply a woman the gods feared too much to leave unbroken? If you enjoyed this journey into myth and legend, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. And stay tuned, because the next legend we reimagine will be even more astonishing. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep reimagining the legends of the past.
Did you know that without Hades, the world would collapse into chaos? He's not just the feared lord of the underworld, he's the very reason life and death maintain their delicate balance. Yet despite his crucial role, Hades has long been misunderstood and unfairly vilified. Welcome to Legends Reimagined. Today we're venturing into the shadowy depths of Greek mythology to unravel the enigma of Hades, a god shrouded in fear, mystery, and layers of complexity. While popular media loves to paint him as the villain, an ominous figure driven by darkness, the real Hades is far from a one-dimensional bad guy. In fact, his story reveals a god deeply committed to maintaining cosmic order, a ruler whose job is vital to the fabric of existence. So, what's the truth about Hades? Let's find out. Hades is often viewed as the grim, brooding god presiding over a dark and lifeless realm. But this portrayal misses a key point. Hades isn't evil. Unlike Zeus, who rules the sky, or Poseidon, who commands the seas, Hades governs the underworld, a realm essential to the natural cycle of life and death. He doesn't seek to harm the living. He ensures that the souls of the dead find their rightful place, and that the balance of the world remains intact. Yet because he rules over the unknown, the realm of the dead, he has been feared throughout history. Humans tend to fear what they can't understand, and Hades, being the unseen force of death, became a symbol of that fear. But in reality, Hades' role was about justice, balance, and order. He ensured that souls were judged fairly and that none could escape their fate. Without him, chaos would reign both in the mortal world and beyond. Modern depictions often portray Hades as power-hungry and malevolent, but ancient myths tell a different story. In these tales, Hades is not driven by greed or cruelty. He doesn't actively seek conflict or try to meddle in the affairs of mortals. Instead, he stays in his realm, ensuring that the natural order remains undisturbed. Take his relationship with Persephone, one of the most well-known stories involving Hades. While the abduction of Persephone might initially seem like a tale of force and domination, a closer look reveals layers of complexity. Over time, Persephone grows into a powerful queen of the underworld, respected and loved by Hades. This myth speaks to the ancient Greek understanding of life and death, a cyclical process where even loss and darkness have their purpose. Beyond his role as a ruler, Hades is known for moments where his wisdom and sense of justice come to the fore. One such moment is the famous deal he strikes with Zeus to allow Persephone to return to the world above for part of the year. This compromise results in the changing seasons, symbolizing the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Hades doesn't demand eternal possession of Persephone. Instead, he agrees to a solution that maintains balance, a testament to his willingness to cooperate and seek harmony. Then there's the tale of Orpheus and Eurydice. When Orpheus ventures into the underworld to retrieve his beloved Eurydice, Hades allows him to take her back on one condition: Orpheus must not look back until they've fully left the underworld. This story shows Hades as a god who can be moved by love and beauty, even if he enforces strict rules. The tragedy of Orpheus's failure isn't due to Hades' cruelty, but to the mortal's inability to trust. Hades' role in Greek mythology isn't about causing suffering, it's about ensuring that rules are followed and that order prevails. Whether guiding souls, striking deals, or preserving the sanctity of life and death, Hades acts as a guardian of balance, not a villain. Hades' realm wasn't just a dark abyss, it was intricately connected to life above. The Greeks believed that the fertility of the earth was tied to Hades and Persephone's presence in the underworld. When Persephone returned to the surface, the earth blossomed with life. When she descended, winter took hold. This duality of life and death was central to their worldview, and Hades was a key figure in maintaining that cycle. Even his underworld wasn't just a place of gloom. The Greeks imagined it as a structured realm with different sections: Elysium for the virtuous, the asphodel meadows for ordinary souls, and Tartarus for the wicked. Hades presided over all of it, ensuring that each soul was treated according to its deeds in life. So, is Hades the fearsome lord of the dead, or a misunderstood figure who quietly ensures the world's balance? The truth is, he's both. He's a god of profound responsibility, ruling a realm few would dare to enter and ensuring that life and death remain in harmony. Without Hades, the world of Greek mythology, and perhaps our own understanding of life's cycles, would be incomplete. What do you think? Does Hades deserve his reputation, or is he a god worthy of more respect and understanding? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this exploration of the myths surrounding Hades, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our next video, where we'll dive into even more legendary tales. See you next time on Legends Reimagined. What happens when love turns into betrayal and passion becomes revenge? Imagine sacrificing everything for love, only to be abandoned by the one you trusted most. It started with a daring quest for the Golden Fleece and ended in heartbreak, betrayal, and vengeance. Let's dive into the legendary and haunting love story of Jason and Medea. They say love conquers all, but in the case of Jason and Medea, love destroyed everything. Let's start with Jason, the brave leader of the Argonauts. His quest? To fetch the Golden Fleece from the distant land of Colchis. Sounds simple, right? But Colchis was ruled by King Aetes, a man who wasn't exactly handing out golden treasures. Enter Medea, the king's daughter and a powerful sorceress. Now here's where things get interesting. Jason and Medea met, and it was like lightning struck. Medea fell head over heels for Jason, but this wasn't just a simple crush. Medea's love for Jason drove her to betray her own family. She used her magical powers to help him overcome impossible tasks set by her father. One of these tasks? Yoking fire-breathing bulls and plowing a field with them. No big deal, right? Thanks to Medea's potions and guidance, Jason managed to pull it off. Next, he had to sow dragon's teeth into the soil, which sprouted into armed warriors. But once again, Medea had a trick up her sleeve, helping Jason to defeat them. Finally, the Golden Fleece was guarded by a never-sleeping dragon. With Medea's help, Jason managed to snatch the fleece and escape. But their problems were far from over. Medea's actions had branded them both as fugitives. The couple fled to Jason's homeland of Iolcus, where they faced even more challenges. Medea, fiercely loyal and determined, continued to use her sorcery to aid Jason. She even tricked the daughters of Pelias, the usurping king of Iolcus, into killing their own father. Pretty dark, huh? But here's the kicker. After all the sacrifices Medea made for Jason, he eventually abandoned her for another woman, Glos, the daughter of the king of Corinth. Imagine the betrayal. Medea was devastated, and her heartbreak turned into a vengeful rage. In one of the most tragic twists of Greek mythology, Medea took revenge in the most horrifying way imaginable. She killed Glos and her own children that she had with Jason. A brutal end to a love story that had started with so much promise. So, what's the takeaway from Jason and Medea's story? It's a haunting reminder of how love can drive us to extraordinary lengths, and sometimes to devastating ends. It's a tale that's been told and retold through the centuries, a testament to its enduring power. Thanks for joining me on this journey through one of mythology's most intense love stories. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest tales. Catch you next time. What if I told you there was once a mortal so confident in her skills that she dared to challenge a god? Arachne, the gifted weaver of Greek mythology, wasn't just talented, she was extraordinary. But when she claimed her craft surpassed even that of Athena, the goddess of wisdom and crafts, she set the stage for one of the most dramatic showdowns in mythological history. Welcome to Legends Reimagined, where we uncover the timeless stories of history, mythology, and literature with a fresh perspective. Today we're diving into the tale of Arachne, a story of hubris, defiance, and transformation. Arachne wasn't born into privilege. She came from a humble background, yet her weaving skills elevated her to fame. People from across the land marveled at her work, describing it as if the threads themselves were alive. But with talent came pride, and pride, as Greek mythology so often reminds us, can lead to ruin. It wasn't enough for Arachne to be praised by mortals. She boldly claimed that her skills were superior to Athena's, the goddess who not only inspired weaving, but was also its divine patron. Her words weren't whispered. They were a direct challenge. And in ancient Greece, challenging the gods never went unnoticed. Disguised as an old woman, Athena visited Arachne, offering a warning wrapped in kindness. "Beware," she said, "of claiming equality with the gods. Show humility and perhaps you'll be spared." But Arachne, steadfast in her pride, dismissed the warning. She refused to acknowledge that anyone, divine or mortal, could rival her artistry. That's when Athena revealed her true form, her divine presence filling the room. The challenge was officially accepted, a weaving contest between mortal and goddess. The stakes, honor, pride, and perhaps the very fabric of Arachne's existence. As the contest began, both looms came to life. Athena wove a magnificent tapestry celebrating the gods' power and their triumphs over chaos. It was a masterwork of divine glory and order. Arachne, however, took a bolder approach. Her tapestry exposed the gods' flaws, Zeus's betrayals, Poseidon's rage, and even Athena's own role in the darker moments of mythology. The detail in Arachne's work was breathtaking. Her threads seemed to mock the gods, blending beauty with brutal truth. It wasn't just skill, it was audacity woven into every stitch. When the tapestries were complete, the onlookers were stunned. Arachne's work was flawless, perfect in execution, bold in storytelling. Even Athena had to admit it was superior, but perfection came at a price. Athena's pride was wounded, but it was the content of Arachne's tapestry that enraged her. The mortal had dared to expose the gods' imperfections, their hypocrisies, and their mistakes. The air crackled with divine fury. Athena struck Arachne's tapestry, destroying it in a flash of wrath. Realizing the gravity of her defiance, Arachne was overcome with despair. She fled, consumed by shame, and hung herself. But the story doesn't end there. Athena, though angry, wasn't entirely without pity. She transformed Arachne into a spider, ensuring that her weaving skills would endure for eternity. From that moment on, Arachne's descendants spun their intricate webs, silent, tireless reminders of her defiance and the consequences of challenging the gods. Arachne's story is more than a myth. It's a cautionary tale about pride, ambition, and knowing one's place in the grand order of things. In Greek mythology, hubris, the excessive pride that challenges the divine, is a recurring theme, and Arachne's fate is a vivid reminder of its consequences. But her story also sparks deeper questions. Was Arachne wrong to challenge Athena? Or was her punishment an overreaction from a wounded ego? Could her defiance be seen as an act of bravery, a mortal daring to speak truth to power? In the end, Arachne's tale resonates because it speaks to universal struggles, the tension between human ambition and the limits imposed by a higher power, the fine line between confidence and arrogance, and the consequences of standing against authority. What do you think? Was Arachne a cautionary example of hubris, or was she a hero in her own right, unafraid to challenge even the gods? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into mythology, don't forget to subscribe to Legends Reimagined. Join us next time as we unravel more stories from history, mythology, and literature, bringing the past alive in ways you've never imagined. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, every legend has its threads of truth. Did you know that Poseidon, the mighty Greek god of the sea, once attempted to overthrow Zeus and claim the throne of Mount Olympus? But the story of his rebellion is not just about power. It's a tale of betrayal, punishment, and a simmering rivalry that shook the foundations of the gods themselves. Welcome to Legends Reimagined, where we breathe life into the stories of history, mythology, and literature using the power of AI. Today we plunge into the deep blue depths of Greek mythology to uncover the epic story of Poseidon, the volatile and powerful ruler of the oceans. Poseidon wasn't just a god of the sea. He was a creator, a destroyer, and a pivotal force in the great saga of the Olympians. But before his reign over the waters, Poseidon was just one of many contenders in the turbulent family drama of the Greek pantheon. Born to Cronus and Rhea, Poseidon was one of 6 siblings, including Zeus and Hades. But his early life was far from divine. Cronus, fearing a prophecy that his children would overthrow him, devoured each of them at birth. Poseidon's life began not in the grandeur of Olympus, but in the dark confines of his father's stomach. Rescued by Zeus in a daring rebellion, Poseidon joined forces with his brothers to defeat Cronus and the Titans. In the aftermath, the brothers divided the world among themselves. Zeus claimed the skies, Hades took the underworld, and Poseidon, with his trident in hand, became the god of the sea. But this division sowed the seeds of discord. Poseidon's pride and ambition could not be contained beneath the waves. Discontent with Zeus's autocratic rule, Poseidon conspired with Hera and Athena to overthrow him. The plan was bold. They would chain Zeus and take control of Olympus. The gods succeeded in capturing Zeus, but their victory was short-lived. Zeus, cunning and unyielding, appealed to Thetis and the hundred-handed giant Briareus for help. With their aid, he broke free, and the rebellion crumbled. Poseidon faced the wrath of his elder brother. As punishment, Zeus stripped Poseidon of his divine status temporarily and sent him to serve King Laomedon of Troy. Humiliated but unbroken, Poseidon used his powers to build the walls of Troy, crafting an impenetrable fortress. But when Laomedon refused to pay him for his work, Poseidon unleashed his fury, sending a sea monster to ravage the city. This episode revealed another side of Poseidon, not just a god of storms and earthquakes, but a creator and destroyer, his mood as unpredictable as the tides he commanded. Despite his turbulent past, Poseidon reclaimed his place as the god of the sea. He continued to shape Greek mythology, fathering heroes like Theseus and playing crucial roles in stories like the Odyssey, where his wrath against Odysseus demonstrated his might and mercurial nature. Poseidon's story is a reminder of the duality of power. He could nurture life with calm seas and destroy it with tempestuous waves. His tale is not just about rebellion and punishment, but about the complexity of authority, loyalty, and pride. And so the story of Poseidon teaches us that even gods are not immune to ambition and rivalry, but it also shows the enduring strength of resilience, even in the face of defeat. Thank you for diving into this tale with Legends Reimagined. If you enjoyed this journey through mythology, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. Who knows what other legends we'll uncover next? Until then, may the tides be ever in your favor. Ares may be the god of war, but he wasn't exactly the hero you might expect. Known for his fierce, wild nature, Ares was often feared and even despised by both gods and mortals. As we dive into Ares's myth, you'll see he wasn't like Athena, the goddess of strategic warfare and wisdom. Ares represented the raw, untamed violence of war, the kind that was unpredictable, chaotic, and often dangerous for everyone involved. So let's jump into these epic stories and unravel the truth about the god who was never afraid to start a fight, even if it made him the outcast of Olympus first off. You might think Ares, being the god of war, was universally loved and revered, right? Wrong. Ares was actually one of the least liked gods in Greek mythology, as Ares represented the raw, untamed violence of war, the kind that was unpredictable, chaotic, and often dangerous for everyone involved. Because of this, he wasn't exactly popular among the gods of Olympus. Even Zeus, his own father, looked down on him, calling him the most hated of his children. Unlike Athena, who represented strategic warfare, Ares was all about the chaotic and brutal side of battle. Now, let's talk about Ares's love life. You might have heard of his infamous affair with Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. But did you know that Hephaestus, Aphrodite's husband, once trapped them in a golden net while they were, indisposed? The other gods found it hilarious, but let's be honest, it's a bit awkward for Ares. Speaking of battles, here's a shocking fact. Ares wasn't very successful in his fights. In the Iliad, he was wounded by the mortal hero Diomedes with a bit of help from Athena. Imagine a god of war being bested by a human. And that's not all. Ares was even captured by two giants, Otus and Ephialtes, who managed to hold him in a bronze jar for 13 months. But Ares wasn't just about war and violence. He had a softer side too, albeit a very hidden one. He was the father of Harmonia, the goddess of harmony and concord, which is quite ironic given his nature. Harmonia's presence in his life showed that even the fiercest gods have a complex and multifaceted nature. And let's not forget his Roman counterpart Mars. While Ares was feared and often despised in Greek culture, Mars was highly revered in Roman society. He was seen as the father of Romulus and Remus, the legendary founders of Rome, and was a symbol of military power and strength. It's fascinating how the same deity can have such different reputations in different cultures. Finally, did you know that Ares had a sacred animal? The boar was closely associated with him, symbolizing his aggressive and destructive nature. In many myths, warriors would sacrifice boars to Ares before going into battle, hoping to gain his favor and ferocity. So there you have it, Ares, the god of war, in all his complex glory. From family feuds to love affairs, and from brutal battles to hidden depths, Ares is one deity who never ceases to surprise. If you enjoyed these unbelievable facts, hit the like button and subscribe for more mythological deep dives. Until next time, keep exploring the fascinating world of myths and legends. Catch you later. Imagine a time when the cosmos was pure chaos, ruled by ancient beings of unimaginable power. In this dark age, the mighty Titans reigned supreme, until a new generation dared to rise against them. Led by the thunderous Zeus, these young gods ignited a brutal war, a clash that would echo through eternity. This was no ordinary battle. It was the Titanomachy, the ultimate showdown between gods and titans, a fight for dominion over the universe itself. Join us as we dive into the explosive betrayals, towering heroes, and cosmic forces that tore the heavens and earth apart in a war that would change destiny forever. Picture this. The world is young, chaos reigns, and from the darkness, the primordial deities emerge. Among them, Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky. They give birth to the Titans, mighty beings who would rule the cosmos. But as with all families, there's bound to be conflict. Now, Uranus wasn't exactly the father of the year. He imprisoned some of his children, the Hecatoncheires and the Cyclopes, deep within Earth. Gaia, not too thrilled with this, urged her Titan offspring to rise up. Enter Cronus, the youngest but boldest Titan, who took on his father, and well, let's just say Uranus had a bad day. Cronus took the throne, but he wasn't any better. He swallowed his own children to prevent any future threats to his power. But one child escaped, Zeus. Raised in secret, Zeus grew strong and cunning. He returned to challenge Cronus, freeing his siblings and igniting the cosmic war known as the Titanomachy. For 10 years the battle raged. The gods, led by Zeus, faced off against the Titans in a struggle of unimaginable proportions. The sky blazed with lightning, the earth trembled, and the seas roared. The gods had allies. The Cyclopes crafted their weapons, and the Hecatoncheires hurled massive boulders. But the Titans were no pushovers. They had strength, size, and an unyielding will. The battles were fierce, with both sides pushing their limits. Atlas, a formidable Titan, carried the weight of the heavens on his shoulders, symbolizing the immense burden of the war. In the end, the gods triumphed. Zeus with his thunderbolts, Poseidon with his trident, and Hades with his helm of darkness, overpowered the Titans. The defeated Titans were cast into Tartarus, a deep abyss where they'd remain imprisoned for eternity. But what makes this clash so fascinating? It's a tale of power, betrayal, and the relentless pursuit of dominance. It's about family drama on a cosmic scale, where the stakes are nothing less than control of the universe. And in the heart of it, we see the timeless struggle between the old and the new, tradition and change. The Titanomachy isn't just a story of gods and titans. It's a reflection of human nature, our fears, our ambitions, and our desire to overcome the odds. It's why these ancient myths still captivate us today. So next time you gaze up at the stars, remember the epic battles fought among those celestial bodies. The gods versus titans, an ultimate clash that shaped the very fabric of myth and legend. Thanks for watching, myth enthusiasts. If you enjoyed this dive into Greek mythology, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more legendary tales. Until next time, keep the myths alive. Did you know that the legendary Minotaur, half man, half bull, was born not from a freak accident of nature, but from divine vengeance? A punishment so twisted, so poetic, it reveals just how merciless the gods of ancient Greece could be when their pride was challenged. Welcome back to Legends Reimagined. Today we're diving deep into one of the most bizarre and haunting myths of ancient Greece, the birth of the Minotaur. This isn't just a tale of a monstrous creature trapped in a labyrinth. It's a story of arrogance, punishment, forbidden love, and the fragile balance between mortals and gods. So how did a creature as strange as the Minotaur come to exist? To uncover the answer, we need to peel back the layers of myth and understand the fateful choices of a king who dared to defy a god. Our story begins with King Minos of Crete, a powerful ruler who sought favor from the gods. In an attempt to prove his divine right to rule, Minos prayed to Poseidon, god of the sea, asking him to send a majestic white bull that he could sacrifice. Poseidon obliged, and a magnificent bull emerged from the sea. But when the time came to offer the bull as promised, Minos couldn't bring himself to do it. The bull was too beautiful, too perfect. Instead, he kept it for himself and sacrificed a lesser one, thinking he could outsmart the god of the oceans. Big mistake. Poseidon, enraged by this betrayal, didn't strike Minos down immediately. No, the gods preferred more creative punishments, ones that would echo through generations. And so, he cursed Minos' wife, Queen Pasiphae, to fall in love with the very bull her husband had refused to sacrifice. This is where the myth takes a dark turn. Under the influence of Poseidon's curse, Pasiphae's obsession with the bull grew uncontrollable. Desperate to fulfill her unnatural desire, she turned to Daedalus, the legendary inventor, for help. Daedalus, though reluctant, crafted a wooden cow that Pasiphae could climb into, allowing her to consummate her love for the bull. The result? The birth of the Minotaur, a creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull, a living symbol of Minos' defiance and Poseidon's wrath. But beyond the sheer strangeness of this myth, there's a deeper meaning. Pasiphae's tragic love represents the uncontrollable forces of nature, and the Minotaur stands as a grotesque reminder of the chaos that ensues when mortals defy the gods. As the Minotaur grew, so did the problem it posed. The creature became increasingly wild and dangerous, a living embodiment of Crete's shame. Minos, unable to kill the beast but desperate to hide it from the world, turned once again to Daedalus. This time, Daedalus was tasked with building a labyrinth so complex that even the Minotaur could never escape it. The labyrinth wasn't just a prison, it was a monument to Minos' failure, a twisting maze that symbolized the tangled web of pride, defiance, and divine punishment. But hiding the Minotaur wasn't enough. To appease the creature, Minos began demanding a gruesome tribute from Athens, 7 young men and 7 young women to be sent to Crete every 9 years as sacrifices to the beast. This tribute transformed the Minotaur into a figure of terror, a monster that fed on human lives, while Crete itself became a kingdom haunted by guilt and fear. At its core, the story of the Minotaur is more than just a myth about a terrifying creature. It's a cautionary tale about hubris. Minos' refusal to honor his promise to Poseidon set off a chain of events that led to suffering, loss, and ruin. It's a reminder that in Greek mythology, the gods didn't tolerate arrogance, and those who thought they could outwit the divine often paid a steep price. Even Persephone's tragic role in the story underscores the theme of inevitability. She wasn't to blame for her unnatural love, it was a curse placed upon her. Yet her suffering became part of the gods' cruel retribution. And the Minotaur? He was born into a world that feared and despised him, a creature who never asked to exist but became a living reminder of human folly and divine wrath. So what do you think of the myth of the Minotaur? Is it a tale of punishment, or is there more to it? A story about love, loss, and the delicate balance between humanity and the divine. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of Greek mythology's strangest legends, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next episode of Legends Reimagined. Until next time, keep exploring the shadows of history, mythology, and legend. Did you know that in ancient Greek mythology, Erebus was so powerful that even the light of day had to emerge from his shadow? Despite being the personification of darkness, his influence stretched far beyond the unseen, shaping the very cycle of night and day, yet few ever speak of this enigmatic figure. Welcome to Legends Reimagined. Today, we're venturing into the shadowy realms of Greek mythology to uncover the secrets of Erebus, the god of darkness. Unlike Zeus, Hades, or even Nyx, Erebus remains an elusive figure, rarely mentioned, often overlooked, but quietly shaping the mythological world. He's not just darkness personified. He represents the mysteries of the unknown, the unexplored corners of existence that ancient Greeks feared yet revered. What was Erebus's true role? And why does he matter so much in the grand scheme of Greek mythology? Let's dive in. Erebus's origins are as enigmatic as the god himself. According to myth, he was born from chaos, the primordial void from which all existence sprang. Alongside deities like Gaia, the earth, and Eros, the god of love, Erebus emerged as one of the first forces of the universe. But unlike his siblings who embodied creation and life, Erebus was the embodiment of shadow, silence, and the unknown. This connection to chaos not only emphasizes Erebus's ancient and primal nature, but also underscores his role as a boundary between worlds, the known and the unknown, light and shadow, life and death. In many myths, Erebus is said to fill the spaces between realms, acting as a veil through which souls must pass on their way to the underworld. Erebus's presence is most strongly felt in his connection to the underworld. Though Hades rules this dark domain, Erebus serves as its silent backdrop. Some stories depict him as a guide, helping souls traverse the shadowy rivers and find their way to Charon, the ferryman of the dead. Without Erebus's presence, the journey to the afterlife would be chaotic, as he provides the veil of darkness that separates the living from the dead. One of the most fascinating myths involving Erebus is his partnership with Nyx, the goddess of night. Together they gave birth to Hemera, the goddess of day, and Ether, the god of light. This paradoxical union, darkness creating light, highlights Erebus's role in the cosmic balance. Darkness isn't merely the absence of light, it's the force that frames and defines it. Without Erebus there would be no dawn, no contrast, and no cycle of time. Erebus's influence wasn't limited to guiding souls, he played a significant role in the realm of magic. In some myths he is said to have assisted Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, by providing her with the impenetrable darkness she needed for her rituals. This partnership speaks to the deeper symbolism of Erebus. Darkness as a source of power, mystery, and transformation. Similarly, in tales involving gods and mortals, Erebus is often invoked in moments of secrecy and deception. Darkness, after all, is where things are hidden, where truths are obscured, and where magic thrives. Without Erebus, there would be no cloak of night, under which ancient rites could be performed, or secrets could be kept. Another myth tells of Erebus aiding Nyx in casting the shroud of night over the world, ensuring that time itself could flow in cycles. This act isn't one of malice, but of maintaining order, reminding us that darkness is as essential as light in the grand narrative of existence. Erebus isn't just a god of darkness, he's a symbol of the unknown. To the ancient Greeks, darkness represented more than night. It was the boundary of knowledge, the edge of existence where reason faltered and mystery began. Erebus embodies that uncertainty, the unseen forces that shape life from the shadows. His limited appearances in myths aren't a sign of insignificance, but rather a reflection of his elusive nature. Unlike gods who seek glory and worship, Erebus is content to remain in the background, silently shaping the world. This makes him one of the most enigmatic and intriguing figures in Greek mythology. Even today, Erebus's legacy endures. His name has been used in literature, science, and even space exploration to symbolize the unknown and the boundaries of light. He reminds us that darkness isn't something to fear, it's something to understand, to respect, and to explore. So, who is Erebus? He's more than just the god of darkness. He's the veil between worlds, the force that shapes light by framing it in shadow, and a guardian of the unknown. By understanding Erebus, we gain a deeper appreciation for the balance between light and dark, life and death, known and unknown. What do you think about Erebus? Is he a forgotten god of immense power, or a mysterious figure best left in the shadows? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this exploration into the mythos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me next time as we uncover more secrets from ancient mythology. See you soon on Legends Reimagined. What if everything you touched turned to gold? Sounds like a dream come true, right? But for King Midas, it quickly became a nightmare. His name has become synonymous with greed and wealth, but there's so much more to his story, a tale of ambition, loss, and the ultimate realization of what truly matters. Welcome to Legends Reimagined, where we uncover the truth behind timeless myths and legends. Today we're unraveling the story of King Midas, the man who wished for the golden touch only to find himself trapped by his own desires. Midas wasn't always the greedy figure you might imagine. He was a king beloved by his people, known for his hospitality and humility. His greatest joy was his daughter, who brought light and warmth into his life. But one fateful encounter with Dionysus, the god of wine and revelry, changed everything. When Dionysus visited Midas's kingdom, He was so impressed by the king's generosity that he offered him a reward, anything Midas desired. It was a gift from a god, an opportunity most mortals could only dream of. Midas could have wished for wisdom, eternal peace for his kingdom, or even immortality. But instead, he asked for the power to turn anything he touched into gold. At first, it seemed like the perfect wish. Imagine the possibilities. Rocks transformed into gold nuggets, tree branches into golden sculptures. His newfound power dazzled everyone around him, but it didn't take long for the cracks to show. The first sign of trouble came at dinner. Hungry from his day, Midas reached for a loaf of bread, only to watch it harden into solid gold in his hands. He tried sipping wine, but it too turned to gold before it reached his lips. The simple pleasure of a meal was now beyond his grasp, but the true tragedy came when his daughter ran to him, arms wide open, seeking a hug from her father. In an instant she turned into a lifeless golden statue, frozen in a moment of innocent love. Midas's heart broke. His palace gleamed with gold, but it was empty, silent, cold, and devoid of life. Trapped in his own golden prison, Midas realized the terrible cost of his wish. What good was all this wealth if he couldn't eat, drink, or embrace his loved ones? The very thing he thought would bring happiness had stripped his life of meaning. Desperate and remorseful, Midas turned to Dionysus for help. The god, seeing the king's anguish, offered him a way out. Midas was instructed to wash his hands in the river Pactolus, where the curse would be cleansed. As he submerged his hands in the water, the golden touch left him, and the river's sands turned to gold, a lasting reminder of his folly. With his daughter restored and his curse lifted, Midas emerged a changed man. He abandoned his obsession with wealth and sought to live a life of humility and gratitude. His story became a powerful lesson, passed down through generations, warning of the dangers of greed and the true cost of unchecked ambition. The tale of King Midas forces us to reflect on our own lives. Are we chasing material wealth at the expense of what truly matters? Love, connection, and the simple joys of life. Midas's story reminds us that true happiness can't be bought or wished for. It's found in the relationships we nurture and the values we uphold. So what do you think? Was King Midas's wish an act of foolishness, or was it simply a cautionary tale about human nature? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. If you enjoyed this exploration of the legend of King Midas, don't forget to subscribe to Legends Reimagined. Join me next time as we uncover more fascinating myths, stories, and the lessons they hold for us today. Until then, remember, every legend has a story worth telling. Chaos, strife, and the unraveling of order. These are the gifts of Eris, the Greek goddess of discord. Feared by mortals and avoided by gods, her name alone could summon conflict. But was Eris merely an agent of destruction, or was she a force that shaped the very destiny of Olympus and the world of men? In the grand halls of Olympus, Eris was never truly welcome. Unlike her siblings, she was not a goddess of light, love, or wisdom. She was the embodiment of disorder, the whisperer of grievances, the spark of feuds, the shadow cast over celebrations. Her presence was so disruptive that Zeus himself barred her from attending the grand wedding of Peleus and Thetis, fearing she would bring misfortune. But Eris was not one to be ignored. Determined to make her presence known, Eris devised a plan that would sow the seeds of one of history's greatest conflicts. From the heights of Olympus, she cast a single golden apple into the midst of the wedding banquet. Upon it the words were inscribed, "To the fairest." It was a simple trick, but one that preyed upon the pride of the goddesses. Hera, queen of the gods, Athena, goddess of wisdom, and Aphrodite, goddess of love, all claimed the prize as their own. Their bickering led them to Paris of Troy, a mere mortal, tasked with deciding the fairest among them. Each goddess offered Paris a bribe. Hera promised him power, Athena wisdom, and victory in battle. But Aphrodite offered him the most tempting gift of all, the love of the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen of Sparta. He chose Aphrodite, unknowingly setting in motion the Trojan War. And thus, with a single act, Eris had unraveled the fragile peace of the ancient world. Was Eris a villain, or merely a necessary force of nature? While the gods saw her as an unwelcome guest, some philosophers, such as the Stoics, recognized that strife and competition were vital to progress. Without challenge, there is no growth. Without conflict, there is no change. Even Hesiod, in his Theogony, speaks of two forms of Eris, one who brings suffering and war, and another who drives ambition and excellence. The former divides, but the latter compels mortals to strive, to create, and to surpass themselves. Eris did not fade into obscurity after the Trojan War. Her influence is felt in every tale of rivalry, in every battle fought over pride and ambition. She is present in every moment where chaos disrupts the order, forcing it to rebuild anew. Her legend persisted beyond Greece, influencing later myths, literature, and even modern thought. The idea of discord as both a destroyer and a catalyst for change is as relevant today as it was in the days of ancient Olympus. Eris, the goddess of discord. Was she truly the villain of the story? Or was she the hidden architect of fate, ensuring that history never stood still? Perhaps in every moment of strife, there lies an unseen hand stirring the winds of change. What do you think? Was Eris a curse upon Olympus, or a force of nature that the gods could never control? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time as we continue to reimagine the myths and legends of history. Until then, embrace the chaos, question the order, and remember, even discord has its place in the grand design. Did you know that the Harpies, those creatures were so terrifying that even the Argonauts, some of the greatest heroes in Greek mythology, were driven to desperation? These winged monsters didn't just steal food, they symbolized starvation itself, leaving their victims powerless and famished. And yet, two unlikely heroes dared to take on these dreaded beings, Zeus and Calais, the sons of the North Wind. Welcome to Legends Reimagined, where we revive the timeless tales of mythology, history, and literature with a modern twist. Today we delve into the exhilarating story of Zeus and Calais, winged warriors who faced the Harpies in a battle of cunning, speed, and sheer determination. The story begins with the Argonauts, weary from their perilous journey to retrieve the Golden Fleece. As if their trials weren't enough, they were tormented by the Harpies, who descended like a storm, snatching every morsel of food from their grasp. The situation was dire. Hunger gnawed at them, and morale was crumbling. Someone had to act before the Argonauts succumbed to despair. Enter Zeus and Calais, sons of Boreas, the North Wind, and the sea nymph Oreithia. With wings inherited from their divine father, these warriors were uniquely equipped for the task. Their very existence was a blend of raw power and agility, and they had spent their lives mastering the art of combat. If anyone could take on the Harpies, it was them. But this wasn't just about brute strength. Zeus and Calais knew that to defeat the Harpies, they had to outthink them. They spent hours observing the creatures, analyzing their movements, and predicting their attacks. Their strategy was simple yet bold: use their own wings to counter the Harpies' speed and exploit their arrogance. The battle that followed was nothing short of legendary. High above the earth, Zeus and Calais clashed with the Harpies in a whirlwind of feathers and steel. The Harpies were fierce, their talons slashing through the air, but the sons of Boreas were faster. They moved like the wind itself, striking with precision and avoiding every counterattack. As the battle raged on, it became clear that Zeus and Calais were not just fighting for their comrades, they were fighting to prove themselves, to carve their legacy into the annals of myth. And in the end, their bravery paid off. One by one, the Harpies were driven away, their reign of terror finally ended. The Argonauts at last could eat, rest, and continue their journey with renewed hope. And Zeus and Calais, they became legends, heroes whose tale still inspires us today. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey into the world of myth and heroism. What do you think? Could you have faced the Harpies? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more epic stories from Legends Reimagined. Until next time, keep imagining the extraordinary. There was a day, even in the age of gods, when Olympus trembled. A day so terrifying that even mighty Zeus fled in fear. The sky split with lightning, the earth cracked with fire, and from the dark chasms of Tartarus rose a monster whose name still echoes with dread. Typhon, the father of monsters. A creature so vast, so destructive, that he threatened to unmake the very order of the cosmos. This is the tale of the day when chaos challenged the throne of Olympus, when the gods themselves almost fell. After the Titans were defeated and Zeus took the throne of the gods, Gaia, the earth itself, was filled with fury. Her children, the Titans, had been cast into Tartarus. Her lover, Uranus, had been dethroned, and her vengeance would birth a terror. Gaia, in union with Tartarus, gave birth to Typhon, not merely a monster, but a cataclysm. Towering higher than mountains, his body reached the stars. His head scraped the heavens, 100 snake heads hissing fire from his shoulders. His voice, terrifying, indistinguishable, bellowed with the roar of lions, the cries of children, the screams of beasts. His eyes blazed like suns. His wings could darken the sky. The gods had seen many horrors, but Typhon was unlike anything before. As Typhon stormed toward Olympus, the gods looked upon him and fled. Yes, even the Olympians, immortal, mighty, turned and ran. They transformed themselves into animals and vanished into the wild. Apollo became a crow, Hermes a crane, Dionysus a goat. Aphrodite and Eros leapt into the sea as fish. Only one god stood his ground, Zeus. Armed with his thunderbolts he struck. The sky split apart. The world shook. For the first time since the dawn of creation, Zeus was truly tested. The battle raged across the heavens and the earth. Typhon hurled mountains. Oceans boiled. Forests ignited. But Zeus would not yield. Until he did. In a moment of exhaustion, Zeus faltered, and Typhon seized him. The monster coiled around the king of the gods, tore the sinews from Zeus's hands and feet, and cast him into a cave. The thunder god was bound, powerless. Typhon had won. The world fell into shadow. Storms ravaged the earth. No sun, no order, just chaos and fear. But fate had not spoken its final word. While Typhon celebrated, Hermes, swift and clever, crept into the cave and retrieved Zeus's sinews. The king of Olympus, healed and burning with fury, returned to the skies. This time he did not fight alone. The gods rallied behind him, the heavens lit up with divine fire. Zeus unleashed every thunderbolt he possessed. The winds howled, the rivers reversed, the cosmos roared. With a final blast he hurled Typhon beneath the earth, crushing him under Mount Etna, where he remains to this day. His fury still bubbles through the volcano's fire. His wrath still shakes the ground, and so Zeus restored the balance. Order triumphed over chaos. Olympus stood tall once more. The tale of Typhon is not merely a monster story. It is a warning that even the mightiest can fall. That order is always one step away from being undone. Typhon was not evil. He was nature unbound, rage, storm, fire, flood, all at once. And Zeus, for all his glory, knew fear because of him. In the end, it wasn't just strength that won. It was unity, strategy, and resilience. Do you think Typhon could rise again? Or was this the last time the gods would tremble? Let us know in the comments. And if you love myth as much as we do, like, subscribe, and join us next time on Legends Reimagined, where legends are more than stories. They're echoes of ancient truth. Imagine being condemned to hold the weight of the heavens for all eternity. Not a crown, not a throne, but the very sky itself, resting on your shoulders. This is the eternal punishment of Atlas, the mightiest of the Titans, a being whose name echoes through myth, geography, and even modern science. But who was he really? A rebel, a warrior, a scapegoat? Or perhaps a forgotten hero crushed beneath the weight of divine vengeance? Welcome to Legends Reimagined. Today, we unravel the tragic and titanic tale of Atlas, the one who dared to defy the gods and paid the ultimate price. Atlas was no ordinary being. He was a Titan, the son of Iapetus, and brother to other powerful figures, Prometheus the firebringer, Epimetheus the fool, and Menoetius the doomed. Together they were born in a time before Olympus ruled, a time when the Titans reigned supreme. But like all ages, this too would come to an end. When Zeus and the Olympians rose in revolt against Cronus and the Old Order, the Great War of Titanomachy erupted, a cataclysmic battle that shattered mountains and split the earth. Atlas, strong and unyielding, emerged as the Titans' fiercest general. His defiance of Zeus was unmatched. While others faltered, Atlas held the front lines. But in the end, the Olympians triumphed, and the victors rarely show mercy. For his unmatched strength and his unwavering loyalty to the old gods, Atlas was singled out for a punishment like no other. While other titans were cast into Tartarus, Atlas was cursed to stand at the edge of the world, forever holding up the sky. A living pillar separating the heavens from the earth. A monument of strength and sorrow. Not death, not imprisonment, but an eternal burden. Some say his punishment was a warning to all who opposed the Olympians. Others believe it was a twisted tribute, acknowledging that only Atlas was powerful enough to bear such a task. He became a living mountain, a symbol of resistance, crushed by the very heavens he once dared to challenge. But Atlas's story does not end in stillness. Centuries later he would cross paths with the cunning hero Heracles, or Hercules as the Romans called him. During his 12 labors, Heracles sought the golden apples of the Hesperides, guarded in a distant garden that only Atlas could reach. Seeing a rare chance for freedom, Atlas agreed to retrieve the apples, if Heracles took the sky from his shoulders. The Titan tasted liberty for the first time in eons, but Heracles, ever clever, tricked him into taking the burden back, by pretending he needed to adjust his cloak before bearing the weight again. Thus, Atlas was once more bound to the sky, the brief flicker of freedom snatched away by mortal wit. Even in eternal punishment, Atlas could not be forgotten. The great mountain range, the Atlas Mountains of North Africa, bear his name. Ancient cartographers named collections of maps atlases, inspired by the Titan who held the world. In modern times he's a symbol of strength, endurance, and sometimes burdened responsibility. From literature to psychology, Atlas stands as the archetype of one who carries more than any one being should. But what if his tale is more than myth? What if Atlas represents all who bear the weight of legacy, family, duty, or history itself? Atlas, the mightiest Titan, did not fall in battle. He was cursed to endure, a symbol of defiance, burden, and tragic strength. His tale is not just about gods and punishment, but about the cost of loyalty and the agony of endless endurance. So next time you see the stars above or hear of mountains named in stone, remember Atlas, the Titan who stood between heaven and earth and bore it all. Which side was Atlas really on? Villain, rebel, or tragic hero? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time on Legends Reimagined, where the past lives again.
What if I told you that one of the fiercest warriors of the Trojan War wasn't a Greek hero or a Trojan prince, but a woman, a queen who fought like a tempest and struck fear into the hearts of the mightiest warriors? She was Penthesilea, the Amazon warrior queen, a woman whose name was whispered on the battlefield like a war cry, whose strength rivaled Achilles himself, and whose tragic fate would forever be etched in the blood-stained sands of Troy. Welcome to Legends Reimagined, where we revive the greatest stories from history, mythology, and literature with the power of AI. Today, we bring to life the tale of Penthesilea, the queen who fought, loved, and died with honor. The Amazons, a fierce and independent nation of warrior women, feared across the ancient world. They were said to be the daughters of Ares, the god of war, and Otrera, their first queen. They lived for battle, trained from childhood in the arts of war, and rejected the rule of men. Among them, one warrior stood above all others, Penthesilea, a name that meant mourner of man, though she had little reason to mourn those who fell before her blade. She was not just a warrior, she was a queen, leading her sisters into battle with unmatched ferocity, but fate is cruel. One tragic mistake would set her on a path to Troy. During a hunt, in the heat of the chase, Penthesilea loosed her spear at a charging deer. But fate played a cruel trick. Her spear missed its mark and struck her own sister Hippolyta down. Grief consumed her, and in her sorrow she sought the only absolution she knew, a glorious death in battle. And so, Penthesilea and her Amazon warriors rode to Troy. By the time they arrived, the city was already on the brink of ruin. The Greeks, led by King Agamemnon, had laid siege for nearly 10 years. Hector, Troy's greatest warrior, was dead, struck down by Achilles. The Trojans were desperate for reinforcements, and Penthesilea answered their call. Dressed in golden armor, mounted on her warhorse, she led her warriors into battle like a storm of vengeance. With spear and sword, she cut through the Greek ranks, her fury unmatched. The men who had grown weary of war suddenly found themselves fearing a new terror. An Amazon queen with the strength of a goddess. Even Achilles, the great Greek hero, watched in awe as Penthesilea slaughtered his comrades. She fought not just with skill, but with the sheer force of a warrior seeking redemption. But fate had already written her doom. The battlefield grew silent as two titans prepared to clash, Penthesilea and Achilles. Achilles, the son of Peleus and Thetis, the strongest warrior of the Greeks. His body nearly invincible, his rage unyielding. Penthesilea, daughter of Ares, trained in the ways of war from birth. A queen, a warrior, a force of nature. Their battle shook the earth. She was fast, striking with precision, matching him blow for blow. Achilles, for the first time in years, faced a true challenge. But destiny had chosen its victor. With one final strike, Achilles' spear found its mark, piercing Penthesilea's chest. The queen fell, her golden armor stained red, her legend sealed in death. And as Achilles stood over her lifeless body, something unexpected happened. He removed her helmet, and for the first time he saw her face. A face not twisted in rage, but one of fierce beauty and tragic nobility. And in that moment, the mighty Achilles, slayer of thousands, felt something he had never known before: regret. Some say he mourned her, that he fell in love with her in death. Others say he was cursed by the gods for slaying her. But no matter the truth, Penthesilea had left her mark even in death. The Greeks, cruel and victorious, mocked Achilles for his sorrow. Among them was Thersites, a common soldier known for his sharp tongue and cowardly heart. He jeered at Achilles, laughed at his grief, and desecrated Penthesilea's body. Achilles, in a blind fury, struck him down with a single blow, an act that would lead to his own downfall in the days to come. As for Penthesilea, her name was carved into history. She had fought like a true warrior, died with honor, and earned the respect of gods and mortals alike. Though Troy would fall, her legend would endure. Penthesilea was more than just a warrior. She was a symbol of strength, of tragedy, of the relentless pursuit of honor. In her death, she earned the respect of even her greatest enemy. But her story raises a question. Was it fate that led her to Troy? Or was it her own grief, her desire for a warrior's death, that sealed her fate? Perhaps she knew all along that she would not leave the battlefield alive. Perhaps that was never the point. If you enjoyed this tale of glory and tragedy, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. And stay tuned, because our next legend will take us even deeper into the forgotten pages of history. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep reimagining the legends of the past.
Love, in its purest form, has the power to defy the gods themselves. But what happens when a love so divine is deemed forbidden? This is the tale of Eros and Psyche, a story of passion, trials, and ultimate redemption, a love so powerful it shook the heavens. Psyche, a mortal princess of unparalleled beauty, was so radiant that mortals began to worship her as the new Aphrodite. The goddess of love, enraged by this affront, devised a cruel punishment. She commanded her son, Eros, the god of desire, to strike Psyche with his arrow and make her fall in love with the most hideous creature on earth. But fate had other plans. When Eros laid eyes upon Psyche, he was captivated. His heart, untouched by love until that moment, betrayed him. Instead of following his mother's will, he pricked himself with his own arrow, falling irrevocably in love with the very woman he was meant to curse. Fearing his mother's wrath, he hid Psyche away, arranging for her to live in a secluded palace where their love could remain a secret. Psyche's father, desperate to find a suitor for his daughter, sought guidance from the Oracle of Delphi. The prophecy declared that Psyche was destined to wed a monstrous being and should be left atop a lonely mountain to meet her fate. With a heavy heart, Psyche accepted her doom, only to be carried away by the whispering winds of Zephyrus to a magnificent palace unseen by mortal eyes. Within this ethereal sanctuary, Psyche was greeted by a mysterious lover who showered her with affection but forbade her from ever seeing his face. Every night she fell deeper in love with the unseen presence, their bond built on trust alone. Yet doubt gnawed at her heart. Her jealous sisters, envious of her fortune, planted seeds of suspicion, convincing her that she was trapped with a dreadful beast who would one day devour her. Unable to resist the temptation of truth, Psyche waited for her lover to fall asleep. With trembling hands, she lifted an oil lamp and illuminated his face, only to discover that her beloved was none other than the beautiful god, Eros. Overcome with shock and guilt, she let a drop of hot oil fall onto his skin. The pain startled him awake, and upon seeing Psyche's betrayal, he fled, heartbroken and wounded, abandoning her to despair. Determined to reclaim her love, Psyche wandered the earth searching for Eros. She sought out Aphrodite, who, instead of offering mercy, took delight in tormenting her. The goddess set Psyche upon a path of impossible trials, sorting an endless pile of seeds, retrieving golden fleece from violent rams, collecting the water of the Styx from a treacherous cliff, and finally, descending into the underworld to obtain a vial of Persephone's beauty. The first trial seemed insurmountable, an enormous heap of mixed grains which had to be separated by dawn. As Psyche sat in despair, a swarm of ants, sent by Eros in secret, took pity on her and swiftly sorted the seeds. The second task required Psyche to gather golden fleece from the wild, aggressive rams of the sun god. Instead of confronting the deadly creatures, Psyche heeded the whispers of a gentle river reed, which advised her to wait until dusk when the ram's wool would snag on thorny bushes, allowing her to collect it safely. The third trial demanded that Psyche fetch water from the river Styx, which flowed between perilous cliffs and was guarded by deadly serpents. Seeing her struggle, Zeus sent an eagle to swoop down and fill the flask on her behalf. But the final task was the most perilous of all. She was to venture into the underworld itself and obtain a vial of Persephone's beauty for Aphrodite. Armed with 2 coins to pay Charon, the ferryman of the dead, and 2 barley cakes to pacify Cerberus, the 3-headed hound, Psyche journeyed into the depths of Hades. She navigated the treacherous domain, resisting the pleas of lost souls along the way, and secured the vial from Persephone herself. However, she was given strict instructions not to open it. Overcome with temptation, believing the divine essence inside would make her worthy of Eros, she lifted the lid and immediately fell into a death-like slumber. Her body lay motionless, her spirit on the brink of being lost forever. It was only then that Eros, unable to bear their separation any longer, defied his mother. Flying to Psyche's side, he swept her into his arms and gently kissed her, reviving her with the very love they had fought so hard to protect. With his resolve strengthened, Eros flew to Olympus and pleaded their case before Zeus himself. Moved by Psyche's unwavering devotion, Zeus granted her immortality so she could stand beside Eros as his equal. The mortal princess became a goddess, proving that even the most forbidden love could triumph when the heart remained steadfast. Thus, the tale of Eros and Psyche lives on, an eternal testament to love's trials and triumphs, a story of trust lost and regained, of pain endured and love renewed. It reminds us that even in the face of divine wrath, true love can reshape destiny itself. What do you think? Was Psyche's betrayal justified, or was it the fault of the gods who sought to keep them apart? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time on Legends Reimagined as we uncover more timeless tales of love, loss, and legend. A boy soared high above the sea, wings spread wide, tasting the freedom that gods had long guarded. The sun kissed his back, and for a moment he believed he was invincible. But in that fleeting moment of glory, he forgot the warning, forgot his limits. And the sky, once his triumph, became his tomb. This is the story of Icarus, the boy who flew too close to the sun. A myth that has echoed through centuries as a warning against pride, recklessness, and the cost of unchecked ambition. In the labyrinthine heart of Crete, where shadows stretched long and secrets grew deep, lived Daedalus, the greatest inventor of his age. Brilliant, cunning, but also dangerous. For when genius meets pride, it carves paths toward peril. Daedalus had crafted the infamous labyrinth, a maze so complex that no one could escape it. It was made to imprison the Minotaur, but in a cruel twist of fate, Daedalus himself, along with his son Icarus, became prisoners within his own creation. King Minos, fearing Daedalus would reveal the secrets of the maze, locked them away on the island. No chains, no guards, just the sea, endless and unforgiving. But Daedalus, ever the master of invention, turned his eyes skyward. If the land and sea were barred, then the sky, free and untouched, would be their path to freedom. From feathers scavenged from birds and wax melted over fire, he crafted wings, great, delicate instruments of flight. He taught Icarus how to use them, to balance, to soar, but above all else, to obey. Do not fly too low, he warned, for the sea's dampness will weigh you down. But do not fly too high, lest the sun's heat melt the wax. It was a delicate path between extremes, a metaphor for life itself. Together they took flight, man and boy, myth and miracle. Fishermen below dropped their nets in awe, shepherds pointed to the sky. For in that moment it seemed the age of man had reached the heavens. But ambition is a seductive thing. With the wind in his hair and clouds beneath his feet, Icarus forgot the warning. The thrill of flight pulsed through him, louder than reason, louder than fear. Higher and higher he climbed, chasing the sun with outstretched arms. The wax softened, the feathers loosened. And then silence. One by one, the feathers broke away, fluttering like dying dreams. Icarus plummeted, screaming through the sky, arms flailing not in flight, but in helplessness. The sea embraced him, cold and eternal. The boy who dared to touch the heavens was swallowed by the earth's jealous waters. Daedalus, helpless in the air, watched his son vanish into myth. They say the sea where Icarus fell was named the Icarian Sea, a quiet tribute to the boy who dared to soar beyond bounds. But Icarus did more than fall. He became a symbol of youthful arrogance, of the intoxication of success, of the tragic cost of defying natural limits. In every ambition we chase, there is a whisper of Icarus. In every warning ignored, his shadow looms. But was he a fool or a pioneer? Is ambition always hubris? Or is it the very flame that drives progress? The legend of Icarus is not just a cautionary tale. It is a mirror, a story that reflects our eternal struggle to rise, without losing ourselves in the heights. What do you think? Was Icarus wrong to dream so boldly, or was his fall a price worth paying for the chance to fly? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time on Legends Reimagined, where we breathe life into the ancient stories that still shape our world. They were fierce, they were fearless, they were a mystery whispered through ancient history. The Amazons, warrior women who defied the norms of their time, stride across legend and reality with weapons in hand and freedom in their hearts. Today on Legends Reimagined, we unravel the tangled myths and truths behind the legendary Amazon warriors. The first whispers of the Amazons come from the ancient Greeks, who spoke of a nation ruled entirely by women, archers and horse riders from the lands beyond the Black Sea. According to myth, Amazons lived in cities without men. They fought, ruled, and even took lovers from neighboring tribes only to preserve their bloodline, raising only their daughters in the art of war. Were they real, or a reflection of male fears and fantasies? The line between myth and history begins to blur here. Names like Penthesilea and Hippolyta echo through time. Penthesilea, queen of the Amazons, led her warriors to aid the Trojans during the brutal Trojan War. She fought Achilles himself and nearly bested him before her tragic death. Hippolyta, another famed queen, possessed a magical girdle given by the god Ares. Her encounter with Hercules during his legendary labors paints a complex picture. Was she a willing giver, or was her death yet another betrayal of trust? In every telling, these queens stand not just as warriors, but as sovereigns who demanded respect on the battlefield. For centuries, scholars dismissed Amazons as pure fiction, until modern archaeology unearthed clues. In the steppes of Central Asia, burial sites revealed skeletons of women buried with weapons, their bodies bearing marks of combat. These warrior women, part of the Scythian and Sarmatian cultures, might have inspired the Greek tales. They were not just mythical, they were real, living proof that women once stood shoulder to shoulder with men in the theater of war. The Amazons left more than just stories. They became symbols of female strength and independence, embodying ideals that many societies struggled, and still struggle, to accept. Their legend resurfaced in the Renaissance, inspired countless works of art and literature. and continues today in modern tales of warrior women, reclaiming their rightful place in history. Through centuries of distortion and admiration, the Amazons remain a fierce reminder that courage knows no gender. Were the Amazons pure myth, exaggerated memory, or glorious reality? Perhaps they were all three, a legend born from real strength, fanned by fear, and immortalized by wonder. Which Amazon queen inspires you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time on Legends Reimagined, where myth is not just remembered, it's reborn. Before time was told in scrolls, before history echoed in stone, there was memory, divine, eternal, and alive. And her name was Mnemosyne. You've heard of Zeus, of Athena, of Apollo. But what if I told you that none of their stories would survive, none of their glory endure, without the goddess they often forgot? Today on Legends Reimagined, we uncover the quiet power behind all myth and meaning. This is the story of Mnemosyne, the titaness of memory, mother of the muses, and the keeper of all that ever was. Mnemosyne was no Olympian. She was far older. Born of Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky, she was one of the original titans, beings of immense power and concept. Where others ruled over seas, skies, and underworlds, Mnemosyne governed something more abstract, something far more dangerous. She was memory itself, the echo of time, the soul of remembrance. She did not wield a thunderbolt or a trident. Her power was in the mind, in song, in speech. She was the reason the past could live again in the present. After the great Titanomachy, the war between Titans and Olympians, Mnemosyne did not fall to Tartarus like her siblings. Zeus, now king of the gods, sought her out, not with rage but reverence. For 9 nights he lay with Mnemosyne atop the sacred hill of Pieria. And from this divine union came the 9 muses, goddesses of poetry, history, astronomy, song, and dance. These daughters of Mnemosyne would inspire all creativity, all knowledge, all storytelling. They were the reason mortals could remember, write, and dream. Through them, Mnemosyne became the source of every epic, every tragedy, every hymn whispered on a lyre. She didn't just preserve history, she birthed it. But Mnemosyne's role wasn't confined to life alone. The Greeks believed she had dominion in death as well. In the underworld there flowed 2 rivers. One was Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. Drink from Lethe, and you would forget your past life, your name, your pain, your truth. But hidden near it, guarded and sacred, was another spring, the river Mnemosyne. Mystery cults believed that those who drank from Mnemosyne would not forget but remember their past lives, their soul's journey, and the eternal truth of existence. To drink from Mnemosyne was to awaken, to remember everything, even the divine. Mnemosyne's power was not destruction or conquest. It was preservation. While gods battled and kings fell, it was Mnemosyne who kept their stories alive. It was she who whispered their deeds into the minds of poets and priests, ensuring they would never be forgotten. Every myth retold, every name remembered, every flame of old flickering anew, was her doing. And so, while Zeus ruled the heavens and Hades the dead, Mnemosyne ruled something far more eternal, the memory of gods themselves. In a world obsessed with the future, we forget how vital memory truly is. Without it, we are dust without story, names without meaning. Mnemosyne reminds us that to remember is to live again, that every tale retold, every lesson passed down, is a resurrection. So the next time you recall a myth, sing a song, or feel the past tug at your soul, remember, it may just be Mnemosyne, whispering in your mind. Let us know in the comments, which forgotten myth would you like us to remember next? Like, subscribe, and join us again on Legends Reimagined, where memory never dies. In a world of monsters, gods, and glory-seeking mortals, few left a legacy not of conquest, but of wisdom. Today on Legends Reimagined, we journey into the shadowed woods of Mount Pelion, where hoofbeats echoed not in war, but in the quiet cadence of learning. This is the story of Chiron, the immortal centaur who raised the greatest champions of ancient Greece, yet carried a wound even he could not heal. Unlike his kin, who were wild, lustful, and unruly, Chiron was born of a different mold. His father was Cronus, king of the Titans, who took the form of a horse to seduce the nymph Philyra. From this strange union came a child, half man, half beast, not entirely accepted by gods nor centaurs. But where others saw monstrosity, the gods saw potential. Apollo, god of music and prophecy, adopted him. Artemis taught him the ways of the wild. From them, Chiron mastered healing, music, hunting, ethics, and the stars. He became not just a teacher, but the gold standard of mentorship. Mount Pelion became his sanctuary and his school, and there destiny brought students whose names still echo across time. Achilles, the future slayer of Hector, sat at his feet, learning not only to wield a spear, but to temper his fury. Asclepius, the father of medicine, learned the art of healing herbs and surgery from Chiron's hands. Jason, leader of the Argonauts, was raised by Chiron and guided toward his quest for the Golden Fleece. Theseus, Perseus, Heracles, each passed through Chiron's care. But he did not simply train warriors. He molded minds. Chiron believed that true heroism wasn't brute strength, but moral strength. His pupils weren't forged just for glory, but for greatness. Yet the most tragic part of Chiron's tale was his end. Noble, accidental, and cruel. It happened during a chance reunion with one of his most famous pupils, Heracles, now a mighty demigod, returning to Mount Pelion during one of his labors. They shared laughter and memories, and Heracles, ever the hero, carried with him a quiver full of arrows dipped in the blood of the Lernaean Hydra, poisoned beyond mortal comprehension. But the night took a dark turn. Elsewhere, Heracles had gotten into a conflict with a band of unruly centaurs, creatures known for their wild nature and aggression. As the scuffle spilled across the slopes, Heracles defended himself by loosing his deadly arrows into the fray. One of those arrows flew off course, piercing Chiron in the leg. The irony was unbearable. The healer of heroes, the wisest of centaurs, struck down not by enemy nor fate, but by the weapon of his own student, by accident. Chiron recoiled in pain, but he did not die, for he was immortal, born of divine blood. The wound festered endlessly, burning with the venom of the Hydra, a poison that corrupted everything it touched. No herb, no incantation, no divine favor could soothe his agony. Chiron, the master of medicine, had no remedy for himself. He wandered in silent suffering, refusing to let others see the full weight of his torment. And eventually he chose release. In a final act of selflessness, he offered his immortality to the gods in exchange for the freedom of Prometheus, the Titan bound in eternal torment for gifting fire to humanity. And so, Chiron died not in battle, but in mercy, choosing to end his pain by saving another. After his death, the gods honored him in the stars, casting his likeness into the heavens as Centaurus. But his true immortality lies not in constellation, but in legacy. Every great Greek hero owed a part of their strength, strategy, and morality to the silent centaur who shaped them. While gods caused wars and kings chased power, Chiron nurtured the minds that changed the course of myth. He stood apart not because of what he conquered, but because of what he cultivated. In a pantheon of thunder-wielding gods and monster-slaying warriors, it's easy to overlook the quiet mentors in the background. But without Chiron, there might have been no Achilles, no Asclepius, no Heracles. He taught that greatness is not only in how you fight, but in what you teach others to become. And that, perhaps, is the most legendary power of all. Which forgotten mentor, god, or legend should we reimagine next? Leave a comment, subscribe, and stay tuned to Legends Reimagined, where history, myth, and storytelling are brought to life, one legend at a time.